3, 2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, it's Monday the 11th of May 2020 and happy Eat What You Want Day. Or eat whatever you've got left in the cupboard day, whichever. A big happy birthday to Jeremy Paxman, Natasha Richardson and Holly Valance.
7.
The death toll from coronavirus has now reached over 280,000, with the total number of cases reported now well over 4 million. In the UK, it was a weekend of chaotic government advice and spin as they retired the stay home slogan because it had been too successful and introduced the much more confusing stay alert. Boris was on TV last night to lay out bits of the plan, which mainly seemed to involve returning to work, but also not returning to work if it's not safe to do so.
When I think of the millions of everyday acts of kindness and thoughtfulness that are being performed across this country and that have helped to get us through this first phase, I know that we can use this plan to get us through the next. And if we can't do it by those dates, and if the alert level won't allow it, we will simply wait and go on until we've got it right. We will come back from this devilish illness.
The casual approach to planning and statistics is infuriating some scientists. Here's Sir David Spiegelhalter on BBC's Andrew Marr show.
We're told 31,587 people have died. No, they haven't. It's far more than that. You know, there's a public out there who are broadly very supportive of the measures. They're hungry for details, for facts, for genuine information. And yet they get fed this, what I call number theatre.
6.
In the US, the death toll continues to climb. Now on the edge of 80,000 Americans have died, and they have a third of the global cases. It's also now inside the White House, with both Trump's personal valet and a PR person reported positive. And now Mike Pence is self-isolating. It's infuriated Trump, who went on a Twitter rampage yesterday, spouting conspiracy theories and coining the phrase Obamagate to distract attention from the disaster that is his handling of the pandemic. Here he is explaining just quite how much he doesn't understand testing for the virus.
So she tested positive out of the blue. This is why the whole concept of tests aren't necessarily great. The tests are perfect, but something can happen between a test where it's good and then something happens and all of a sudden she was tested very recently and tested negative, and then today, I guess, for some reason she tested positive.
Friday was VE Day in the UK, celebrating the victory over Nazis in Europe, and not victory over Europe, as some loon on Twitter called it, and the nation celebrated, semi-distantly. National treasure Joanna Lumley did a video call with Edna, a Scottish nurse who was a World War II veteran, but who had never received her medals.
Edna, Sharon, how lovely to see you.
Oh, I'm very pleased to see you.
How are you doing with the lock-in? Are you okay?
Oh, I'm all right, but I get a walk around the building every day.
Then they surprised her with a full military serenade and her long-lost medals.
Good afternoon, I'm Captain Chris Smith from the Royal Navy, and I've come down to Dumfries today to present you with your War Medal for service in the United Kingdom during the Second World War. So I'm just going to put this on here.
A global recession and an international battle against a pandemic is a unique situation, you'd think, but not according to Kevin Spacey, who made a rare public appearance via Zoom at a German venture capitalist event last week. Everyone's least favourite actor thinks that the coronavirus is a lot like being accused of multiple sexual assaults.
I feel as though I can relate to what it feels like to have your world suddenly stop. And so while we may have found ourselves in similar situations, albeit for very different reasons and circumstances, and so I do have empathy for what it feels like to suddenly be told that you can't go back to work or that you might lose your job.
Is that true, though? Really?
3.
Sport? Okay, well, the WWE wrestling returned last night in front of an empty stadium, and it was weird. More importantly, the FA have been working on Project Restart, which could see the Premier League complete the season behind closed doors. Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish spoke to Sky Sports about the plan.
My players ostensibly are, yes, we're ready to go. But, I want them to understand, perhaps they haven't really considered, what risks there might be. So that's not how it will be left. Players this will be outlined in its entirety to players in terms of the what we're putting in for their care and to ensure that we keep them and their families as safe as possible.
If you've been enjoying Ricky Gervais's series Afterlife Season 2, but you've already done binging, then you might enjoy some of the outtakes. Ricky posted about 20 minutes worth over the weekend, and it will put one hell of a smile on your face.
Yeah, and I get all that, but I don't.
What's that Latin?
And finally, the weekend saw the death of Little Richard, who was an icon, an innovator, and an inspiration to many in music. There were tributes from all across the music industry, including from Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, and many more. Here's the man himself on TV in 1984, telling the story of how he met the young Beatles.
And you know what? It's just amazing. All the rock stars that we have now were influenced by
me, yes.
They really were. Mick Jagger.
Beatles. The Beatles started with me. Brian Epstein brought me to Liverpool, and when I got there, he had these 4 guys. He said, I want them to meet you because they never met no famous person before. And the Beatles, they just held my hand. Paul pulled my finger. John laid on my shoulders. They just took me over, and I liked it every minute of it.
This has been the Smart 7. Stay safe, stay distant, and please wash those hands. We are on Alexa now. You can enable the Smart 7 and add us as a flash briefing. We're back tomorrow at 7. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Tilly Steele.
And I'm Helen Monk.
And this is Bitchin'.
I'm dyslexic. Yeah, why do you read the Wikipedia page? It's good to practice.
A podcast where every week we talk about a different person.
So how old was he when he first popped on the scene? That's a great question. If you say he was my age, I'm gonna fucking die.
And we veer wildly off track.
Pop that Prosec.
Available on all your podcast apps. That's not nice.
Can you not say in the advert?
Available on all your podcast platforms. Just search Bitchin' or Great Big Owl.
We'll see you there.
That was alright.